Words appear. Learning Together with Zoe Fiogkos and Victor Gouveia announcing. On Whose Blind Life Is It Anyway? And Zoe's Blind Kitchen Corner. The Blind Perspective Network. Brought to you by VIP Tech and Greek Auto Services. Welcome to Learning Together here on Whose Blind Life Is It Anyway? Sponsored by VIP Tech. I am your announcer, Victor Gouveia. Remember, if you like what you're about to hear, activate the like button and share it with your friends and family, especially if you think they can benefit from anything that's said here. And subscribe, activating the notification bell so you're notified when we go live or upload a new video. Additionally, we are live streaming on our Facebook page, Whose Blind Life Is It Anyway? And on Twitter at Blind Whose. That's BLIND WHOSE. Alternatively, if you don't like any of those formats, you might benefit from podcasts. If you have an iDevice, an Android device, an Amazon device, or a Windows device, we are available on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on Amazon Podcasts. So if you ask Alexa to play Whose Blind Life Is It Anyway?, she'll go out and find it for you. Also, if you want a copy of the audio or video of this recording, send us an email, whoseblindlifeisitanyway@gmail.com, and we will send you a link to the folder on Dropbox that houses all of the episodes we broadcast on the network. On this week's Learning Together, Zoe introduces us to disclosure triangles and interacting on the Mac. Join us as we delve into the Mac computer and how to benefit from it, from Zoe Fiogkos. And now I present your host, Zoe Fiogkos.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Learning Together. Today, if I don't blab very much, it will be a short video because we're going to concentrate just on two things today: disclosure triangles and interacting on the Mac. So I introduced you guys to the desktop. I introduced you to the VoiceOver utility, the VoiceOver training, the VoiceOver keyboard help. But before we move on, we've got to do a little bit of navigation, because there's no point me telling you go into this folder or do this or go into the VoiceOver utility if you don't know how to interact and you don't understand disclosure triangles. So there are more things I need to show you about navigation, but for today, let's just do one step at a time. Let's do disclosure triangles and interacting. Okay. So I have a folder open. It's just a folder on my desktop that I have a whole bunch of things in it. So let me just see where I am.
Google password required.
Yeah.
Close button. Press finder.
Sorry, that was a notification. I need to turn up the volume.
Selected.
But give me a second.
Tab bar. One tab. Tab group. Sidebar table. In sidebar table. Zoe sign locations. Favorites. Collapse.
Okay.
Table. You are currently
So I'm
on
going to
table.
turn up the
Press
volume
control,
so you guys
option,
can
shift,
hear.
arrow, control. Option. Option. Tab bar. One tab. Tab group.
Okay. So I have a window open. It's just a folder on my desktop that's called Blind Kisses. And when you open the window, any window for that matter, your downloads folder, your documents folder, your Macintosh HD folder, anything like that, okay? You're opening up a folder on your Mac. These are the things you're going to hear. Listen.
Control. Option.
So I just pressed the control option, which is my Vo keys, and these are the things you're going to hear.
Toolbar. You are currently on a text element. Full screen button. Minimize. Close button. Close button.
Okay, so that's
You are
actually...
currently on a button. To click this button.
So all the way to the left...
Control. Control.
Okay, sorry about that. All the way to the left is your toolbar that has your close, minimize, and all that. We'll get into that another day, but I just want to show you the layout of the window. So listen as I Vo right. And I'm going to remind you again. Eventually, I'll stop reminding you because after a while, you should know this. Your Vo is your control option keys, your first two keys at the bottom left of your keyboard. And the key, your arrow key right.
Option. Control. Minimize button. Full screen button. Zoe Fiogkos. You are toolbar. You are currently on a toolbar. To interact with the items on this toolbar, press Control, Option, Shift, down arrow.
So, as I went across, it's telling me to interact. So there's a toolbar. Sighted people can see it on the screen. But again, interacting means basically that's what it's telling you to do. Touch it, interact with it, use it, play with it, however you want to interpret it. It's there right now, but it's unusable unless you interact with it. How do we interact? We press our VO keys.
Option, Control,
Shift,
Shift,
down arrow.
in toolbar. 8 items, /forward, group.
So she just said, now that I'm in the toolbar. So when you're not interacting, it's there, but you can't touch it. It's visible, but you can't do anything with it. That's why you have to interact. So in this toolbar, it gives me a few items, and I'll just go through them quickly because we're not going to concentrate on these today.
Control, Option, View, Radio Group, Group, Menu button, Action, Menu button, Share, Dim button, Edit Tags, Dim button, Dropbox, Menu button.
Okay.
You are currently Edit Tags, Dim button.
So now I need to get out of this toolbar to move on in the window. So I'm going to press again.
Control, Option, Shift, out of toolbar.
So I pressed Control Option Shift, up arrow. And it told me that I'm not interacting. It said out of toolbar. So let's continue Vo right.
Option, Control, Tab bar, 1 tab, Tab group.
There's a
You are
tab
currently on
group.
a tab group.
If I wanted to now, I would have to interact with that area as well.
Option, Control, Sidebar, Table, Zoe Fiogkos. Selected.
Okay.
You are currently on a table. To enter this table, press Control, Option, Shift, down arrow.
So we've gone through all the toolbars of the window. And the first thing we come to is the sidebar, where there's a table. Just like on Windows, in Windows, it would be your tree view. Okay? But on the Mac, you have to use the sidebar to get to where you want. So, what do we need to do? She's telling us it's there, but again, we have to interact. So,
Control, Option, Shift, in Sidebar, Table, Zoe Fiogkos. Selected, Zoe Fiogkos, row 4, level 2. You are currently on a cell.
okay? So basically, she told us
Control.
that we're in the toolbar, the sidebar, the table. Now, I'm going to vote up and down.
Control, Option,
Arrow up.
Locations, expanded 3 item iCloud, collapsed. Favorites, collapsed. Favorites, collapsed. iCloud, collapsed. Locations, expanded 3 items enclosed.
Okay. So if you were paying attention, as I moved up and down the table with my arrow keys, my Vo arrow keys, you heard favorites collapsed. I think the locations expanded. You heard titles collapsed, some sort of title collapsed, some sort of title expanded, which is just like a tree view on Windows. You have to open and close these items when it says collapsed and expanded. So collapsed means there's more items to view, but they're hidden. And expanded means that I'm showing you whatever is in this folder. So on the Mac, let's go up to favorites.
iCloud, collapsed. Favorites, collapsed.
Okay, so
You are
it says
currently on a cell
collapsed.
2 items, inside of a table. To navigate the cells within a table, press Control, Option and then up arrow, down arrow, left arrow, or right arrow. To exit this table, press Control, Option, Shift, up arrow.
So again, I have my verbosity level on voiceover set to very high so I can get all the help hints until I learn this. And I did say that I'm eventually going to turn it off. But because now I'm doing these videos, I'm leaving it on purpose. But I'm on favorites now, which says collapse. So I'm going to interact again with favorites. Listen.
Shift. In. Favorites. Row 1, cell 2 items. Favorites.
Okay. Now I'm going to vote right.
Show. Collapse. Disclosure triangle.
See
You
what
are
she
currently on a
said?
disclosure triangle.
She said show.
Control.
She said show disclosure triangle. I'm gonna do it again so you can hear
Control. Favorites. You are
Listen.
currently on a text out.
Listen while I vote vote
Control.
right.
Control. Option.
So from favorites, I'm gonna vote right.
Show. Collapse. Disclosure triangle. You are currently on a disclosure triangle. Inside of a cell 2 items. To expand or collapse the contents of this item, press Control. Option. Space. Control.
Control,
Option.
option.
Icon view. Collection 1 item selected. Macintosh HD. Volume. You are currently on a
So
control.
voiceover, because I have the high verbosity, she just told us what to do. She told us that to view what's in our favorite section, we need to press the disclosure triangle. And for those who are visually impaired, you actually can see a physical triangle. When you press it, it turns. So it's like a button shaped in a triangle, and when you press it, it points downwards. When it's collapsed, it points to the right. So wherever you hear a disclosure triangle, it's kind of like expanding an item in a tree view. And you press it. So now, listen.
Control. Vertical splitter. Sidebar. Table. Zoe Zymac. Selected. You are currently on a shift. In sidebar. Table. Zoe Zymac.
Now, I'm in the table. Listen.
Control locations. Expanded 3 item. iCloud. Collapse. iMovie app. Left Google Chrome app. Searching this Mac. Downloads. Documents. Desktop. Applications. Your recents. You are currently Dropbox. Favorites. Expanded 10 items enclosed level 1.
See that
You
now?
are currently on a cell 2 items. Inside of a tape.
So now, when we went back
Control.
to favorites in our sidebar, now it didn't say favorites collapsed. It said favorite expanded, 10 items enclosed. And now we actually heard the 10 items. Documents, whatever else was in there, I don't remember, but I can do it again.
Option. Dropbox. Level 2.
Dropbox.
AirDrop. Recents. Applications. Desktop.
So things like AirDrop and desktop and applications. That's how you do. Now, let's say, for argument's sake, you may not close your disclosure triangles on your sidebar, because why should you? There's no reason. But let's say you're somewhere else, in another part of the Mac, and you open up the contents with your disclosure triangle, and you want to close it again. So let's go back up to favorites.
Control. App recents. AirDrop. Dropbox. Favorites. Expanded 10 items enclosed level 1. You are currently on a cell 2 items. Inside of a table. To navigate the cells within a table.
Okay, sorry about that.
Dropbox. Level favorites.
Okay.
Expanded 10 items enclosed.
So I'm back on favorites. I'm going
Control.
to interact.
Control. Option.
Shift.
In. Favorites. Row 1 cell 2 items. Favorites.
Okay, so I interacted with favorites. And now, listen.
Option. Control. Hide. Expanded. Disclosure triangle. You are currently on a disclosure triangle. Inside of a cell 2 items. To expand or collapse the contents of this item, press Control. Option. Space.
Okay, so well, I interacted with favorites, and then I pressed Control Option right arrow, which is your vol right arrow, and it's telling me how to maneuver the triangle, the disclosure triangle. So we would press Control,
Control.
Option,
Option.
space.
Icon view. Collection.
Okay.
You are currently on a vertical sidebar table. In sidebar table. Favorite.
Now, it throws me into my window, and I have to go back to the sidebar. To be honest with you, I don't know why it does that, but I will have a look at that another time. So now I'm back in the table. I had to interact with it again, but listen now.
Favorites. Row 1 collapsed.
So now we're back to favorites, and it says row 1 collapsed. So now we can no longer see what's in favorites.
Control. iCloud. Collapsed.
Now we go
You are
straight to
currently on a cell.
straight to iCloud.
Control locations. Expanded 3 items in.
Now, locations
Control.
is expanded. I don't want that to be expanded. So, what do? We interact.
Control. Option. Shift. In. Locations. Row 3 cell 2 items. Locations. Hide. Expanded. Disclosure triangle. Icon view. Collection. You
So,
are currently on a collection. To begin interacting with the.
as soon as I interacted,
Control.
my vo keys, right arrow, I did vo space and closed that. So now when I go back to the
Control.
sidebar,
Up vertical split. Cipher. Table. Status bar.
Whoops.
Cipher. Table.
I interact.
Shift. In cipher. Table. Favorite. iCloud. Locations. Collapsed.
See?
You are currently on a
Locations,
cell 2.
shush. Locations is
Control.
collapsed.
Option. Locations.
So-
Collapsed. iCloud. Collapsed. Favorites. Collapsed.
Give me a
You are
second
currently on
now.
a cell 2 items. Shift. In. Favorites. Row 1 cell. Show. Collapsed. Disclosure triangle. Row 1 expanded. Favorites. You are airdrop. Left recents. Applications. Desktop. You are shift. Auto cipher. Verticals. Icon view. Collection.
Now,
You are currently on a.
I just quickly now
Control.
did everything I just showed you. I expanded my favorites with my disclosure triangle because now I want to just show you something in the window and we'll be done for today. I'm hope you're getting this. Interacting now, there are other ways to do the things I'm showing you, but this is your basic navigation. Once you have this down pat, then you can experiment with other ways to do things. Okay, but this is your basic navigation on the map. Interacting, vo right arrow, vo left arrow, vo up arrow, vo down arrow, vo space bar to select. So, hold on a sec.
Control. Status bar. Icon view. Collection.
So here, I'm in a window. I chose my desktop. And it says icon collection, but it doesn't allow me to do anything. It tells me that I'm there. It tells me that it's visible, but what did we say? We can't use it. We can't do anything with it unless we interact with it. So I'm going to interact.
Control. Option. Shift. Blind kisses. Folder.
All right. So now it's displaying my folders. Now I can I'm interacting with this area. I can just move around.
Important scans. Folder. Prayers. Folder. The Septuagint Bible. Zoe's Blind Kitchen Corner. Folder.
So
You are.
different folders that I have
Control.
in here. Now, I'm on icon view. I'm going to show you something.
Control. Option. The set. Important. Blind kisses. Folder. Icon view. Collection. You are currently on a collection. To begin interacting with the items in this list, press Control. Option. As list. Check.
Okay. I have my, it's easier for me, even though on Windows I use list view. On the Mac, for some reason, it's easier for me to use icon view. I guess it's the way I learn and the way my brain works. You're going to have to decide on that. We'll discuss that another day. Okay, but right now I switched quickly to list view and I'm in my blind kisses folder and I need to interact with the items in this folder. So,
Control. Option. Shift. In list view. Table. Name. Name.
so now it tells me that I'm in a table.
Column 1.
List
Row 1.
view.
Level 1. Control.
Now listen as I go down. I'm going to vote down arrow.
Control. Option. Applications and contracts folder. Collapsed level 2. Bracelets not on display yet folder. Collapsed.
So you
You
see,
are currently on a cell 3 items inside of a table.
in this blind kisses
Control.
folder, there's other folders, but they're collapsed. I need to get into those. So what do? Let's go up.
Control. Option. Applications and contracts folder. Bracelets not on donated earrings not to finished jewelry new price list for supplies folder.
Okay.
Collapsed.
I like this folder. New price list for supplies. Okay. How do I get into that folder? Again, we're going to Control, Option, Shift,
In.
Down
new price
arrow.
list for supplies folder. Column 1. Row 7 cell 3 items. Collapsed. Disclosure triangle.
There you go. So I interacted when I heard new price list for supplies folder. And what is it telling me? It's telling me there's a disclosure triangle. So again,
Control. Option. Row 7 expanded.
so I did Control, Option, Space. Remember, your vo keys plus space. Now look.
Control. Option. Expanded. Disclosure triangle.
Sorry. Now I got to stop interacting.
Shift. On off. New price list for
So I expanded the
column 1.
folder.
Row 7 cell 3 items. Control.
Okay, she wants to talk. Sorry about that. So I expanded the folder. I interacted with the folder. I expanded the disclosure triangle. Then I stopped interacting. And now I'm going to vote down. Listen.
Control. Option. AC Bose shells. Black 1.txt plain text document. Black 2.txt plain text document. Blue 1.txt plain.
So now it's giving me a list
Control.
of text documents that I have in that folder. So this is the way you get into folders. You interact and you use disclosure triangles. Now, if you do icon list, we'll get into that another day. You're not going to have the disclosure triangles in certain places. But we're learning the Mac. And until you figure out how you like things set up, this is what you got to start with. You got to know, because you know what? Even if you set up your Mac in a way where you have the least amount of disclosure triangles, they're not going to disappear altogether. You will come across them in certain areas of the Mac. So you definitely need to know how to interact and how to open a disclosure triangle. So that's it for today. I'm just going to mention really quickly, remember, your vote keys are your control option. To interact with something, it's your vote keys plus shift plus arrow down. To stop interacting, it's your vote keys plus shift arrow up. To open a disclosure triangle, it's vote space, so your control option space. And if you need to interact with that triangle, remember, control option shift down arrow. And then you would control option space to open the disclosure triangle. It's a button. It turns when you open it. And then you stop interacting. We said again, control option shift up. So those are your two commands. Practice on those. Don't worry if you don't know what other things are on the Mac. Don't worry if you can't get to certain places that you want to get to. Let's say you want to start doing mail on the Mac. Don't worry about it. Practice with your folders. Practice. Move around the Mac with your vote keys and your arrow keys and interact with things. Stop interacting with things. If you come across the disclosure triangles, interact with them. Open them. Close them. Stop interacting with them until you get the hang of it. Remember, the Mac presents something on the screen, but you can't. It's almost as if having a book in front of you. I think I've mentioned this before, but it's got, or maybe a tray. No, let's do this example. You have a tray in front of you with a whole bunch of candies, but it's covered on top with plastic wrap. Even if you're blind, I'm telling you that plastic wrap is something that you can see through. So if you cover something with a blanket, you can't see the contents underneath when you have vision. But if you cover it with something called plastic wrap, and you know what plastic wrap feels like, you can see the contents underneath. So that's what it is. You can see the tray of candies, but if you put your hands on it, you can't get the candies because they're covered with a plastic see-through layer. You got to remove that layer so you can get to the candies. Well, on the Mac, you don't actually physically remove it. With your keys, you interact with it. And the Mac gives you access to your candies, in this case, to your folders. So that's what interacting is. And think about the disclosure triangle, as I said, it's pointing to the right, and you touch it with your hand and you turn it, and then it points down. When it points down, it means that the contents are visible and you can interact with them or play with them or do whatever you want with them. And then when it's facing to the right, when you close the disclosure triangle, you can no longer see those items. So that's all there is to it. Interacting and disclosure. Hope this helps. Practice, practice, practice. See you next time.